You would rather spend 3 days figuring something out alone than send one message asking for help. Not because you don't need it, not because there's no one available, but because something deep inside you resists it. The idea of reaching out, of admitting that you cannot handle something on your own, feels almost physically uncomfortable. To most people watching from the outside, this looks like pride, maybe even stubbornness. But psychology tells a very different story. The assumption is usually that people who never ask for help are simply too confident or too independent to need anyone. But research in developmental psychology points to something far more specific. In many cases, this behavior isn't a personality quirk. It's a survival strategy that was built in childhood and never updated. There is a well-documented psychological pattern known as hyperindependence. It develops most commonly in individuals who grew up in environments where depending on others was either unsafe or consistently disappointing. Perhaps the adults in the room were emotionally unavailable. Perhaps asking for help was met with frustration, ridicule, or simply nothing at all. Over time, the child draws a quiet but powerful conclusion. The only reliable person in this situation is me. And that conclusion hardens into identity. This is where it gets deeper. Hyperindependence is now widely recognized by psychologists as a trauma response. Not a character flaw. Not arrogance. A nervous system that learned very early that self-reliance was the only form of safety available. Research into attachment theory shows that when a child's needs are repeatedly unmet, they adapt by suppressing those needs entirely. They stop reaching outward and start building inward. By the time they reach adulthood, asking for help doesn't just feel unnecessary. It feels dangerous. The hidden cost of this pattern is significant. Studies on social support and mental health consistently show that humans are neurologically wired for connection and interdependence. When that wiring is overridden by compulsive self-reliance, the result is a specific kind of exhaustion that is difficult to name. You carry everything alone. You solve every problem in silence. You appear completely fine to everyone around you while quietly running on empty. The strength that kept you safe as a child becomes the weight that wears you down as an adult. There is also an emotional layer that rarely gets discussed. People who never ask for help often find it equally difficult to receive it, even when it is offered freely. A compliment feels suspicious. An act of kindness triggers discomfort. Support feels like debt. This is because the nervous system was never taught that receiving is safe. It was only taught that needing is weakness. But here is the reframe. The ability to survive without depending on anyone is genuinely remarkable. It reflects resilience, discipline, and an internal strength that most people never develop. That capacity deserves respect. However, true strength is not the ability to need nothing. True strength is knowing the difference between what you can carry alone and what you were never meant to carry alone in the first place. Asking for help is not a confession of weakness. It is the most advanced form of self-awareness. It means you have finally outgrown the survival rules of a chapter that is already over. The person who never asks for help isn't broken. They simply learned to protect themselves in the only way that made sense at the time. The next step isn't to abandon that independence. It's to evolve it. To let the walls that once protected you become doors instead. If you made it to the end of this, there is a good chance this hit closer than expected. That's not a coincidence. Subscribe to the channel and stay close, because this is exactly the kind of psychology that most people are never taught, but everyone quietly needs.